Inviting many immigrants to work in their country has proved to be a good decision for many countries, because immigrants not only improve the economy of that country, but they are also cheap labor. But in the future, these immigrants become a headache for those countries, because in the desire of better earning and more successful life, many people come to those countries through illegal or legal ways. Due to the rapid increase in the number of immigrants, the local people have not been able to get jobs. Along with this, the local people of the country have also not been able to get basic facilities. In today's video, you are going to see some countries which are being rapidly taken over by immigrants, and even the government is not able to do anything. So in today's video, we are going to show you 10 countries that will take over by immigrants in 2024. But before starting the video, I want to request you, we put our best efforts to create our every single video. So please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's start. Number 10, Singapore. Singapore is known as a melting pot of cultures. In fact, the country has 4 official languages, namely English, Chinese, Malay, and Tamil, spoken across the nation. Singapore is often cited as a global example of multiculturalism, where people of different backgrounds and ethnicities thrive together. As of June 2024, Singapore's population was 6.04 million. The Malays are considered the indigenous people of Singapore, and their population is over 600,000. The Singapore Constitution recognizes the Malays' special position and the government's responsibility to support their interests. However, some Malays feel that they are disadvantaged in employment and politics, and that ethnic Chinese are favored. While immigration has contributed to Singapore's economic success, it has also led to some tensions. Locals sometimes express concerns about rising housing costs, job competition, and cultural changes. The government has responded by tightening some immigration controls and putting more emphasis on ensuring that Singaporeans get priority for certain jobs. However, the local people do not protest, due to which these things do not come in the media. There have been challenges in integrating different communities, especially as the number of non-permanent foreign workers is large compared to the overall population. Singapore has implemented policies and initiatives aimed at promoting social harmony, including events that encourage cultural exchange and dialogue. You will be surprised to know that more than half of the population of Singapore is made up of Chinese people who came to Singapore from China in the 1990s. But Singapore has a controlled and selective immigration policy. While there are large numbers of foreign workers, the government maintains strict regulations on who can become permanent residents or citizens. Only a fraction of foreign workers are given the chance to become permanent residents based on their skills, job roles, and potential long-term contributions to the economy. Number 9, Saudi Arabia. Most of us know Saudi Arabia for its rich oil resource, the origin of Islam and Arabian horses. However, this is also a popular haven for travelers across the world. As of October 2024, the population of Saudi Arabia has increased to 37.47 million. Saudi Arabia's native population is about 2/3 of the country's total population. That means, according to the 2022 census, Saudi nationals represented approximately 18,800,000, making up 38.4% of the total population of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia relies heavily on foreign workers, particularly in sectors like construction, domestic services, and the oil industry. It's estimated that around 40% of the country's population, or about 12 million people, are foreign workers, primarily from South Asian countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Southeast Asia like Philippines, Indonesia. However, even after having so many immigrants in Saudi Arabia, these immigrants cannot remain permanent, because Saudi Arabia has a system which is called kafala system in Saudi language or sponsorship system in English. Saudi Arabia operates under the kafala system, which ties foreign workers to their employers, who sponsor their visas. This system allows the government and employers to maintain control over the labor force, but it has been criticized for allowing exploitation and limiting the rights of migrant workers. Unlike in many Western countries, foreign workers in Saudi Arabia do not have a clear pathway to citizenship, even if they live and work in the country for many years. The vast majority of immigrants are temporary workers who return to their home countries after completing their contracts. Due to the transient nature of most foreign workers, many live in isolated communities or compounds. This limits the cultural integration between locals and foreigners. In addition, the cultural and religious norms of Saudi Arabia are strictly enforced, and migrant workers must adhere to these, which can create a separation between the foreign and local populations. There are large expatriate communities, particularly in cities like Riyadh, Jeddah, and Dammam. These communities, especially among higher-paid professionals, live in expatriate compounds, which are often separate from the rest of Saudi society. Number 8. France. France is renowned for its iconic landmarks such as the Eiffel Tower, Louvre Museum, Notre Dame Cathedral, and Palace of Versailles. It is also famous for its exquisite cuisine, fine wines, fashion houses, and picturesque countryside dotted with charming villages and vineyards. As of January 1, 2024, the population of France was 68.4 million. This makes France the second most populated country in Europe, after Germany. According to the National Institute for Statistics, there are 19 million people who have immigration background on 3 generations in metropolitan France. Out of 65 million, this would amount to 69% being entirely of native stock. France, like many other countries, has experienced significant immigration over the years, leading to demographic changes. A large portion of France's immigrant population comes from former French colonies, particularly in North Africa like Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, West Africa, and Southeast Asia. This immigration began in earnest after World War II, when France needed to rebuild its economy and invited workers from its colonies to fill labor shortages. France has one of the largest immigrant populations in Europe. Immigration has become a central political issue in France, with increasing debate over the impact of immigration on national identity, social services, and security. Parties like the National Rally have gained significant support by advocating for stricter immigration policies and limiting the number of immigrants entering the country. Some segments of French society fear that immigration, particularly from Muslim-majority countries, is changing France's traditional identity. This concern has been fueled by debates over issues like secularism, the visibility of religious symbols like the wearing of the hijab, and the role of Islam in French society. Immigrant communities, particularly from Africa and the Middle East, tend to have higher birth rates compared to the native French population. This has contributed to the changing demographic composition of certain areas, particularly in major cities. If this continues, France will very quickly lose its original identity. Number 7. Sweden. It is a country that is known for its speciality like IKEA, Volvo, and many more. The country has stunning landscapes and fascinating culture and history. The fika culture of the country, which stands for cake and coffee, is widespread across the globe. Sweden's population is estimated to be 10.6 million people in 2024. The population has been steadily increasing over the past few decades and is expected to continue to grow, reaching over 13 million by 2080. In 2023, about 20% of Sweden's population, or 2.17 million people, were born outside of the country. This is an increase from 2010, when 1.38 million people were born outside of Sweden. Sweden, like many other European countries, has experienced a significant increase in immigration over the past few decades. Sweden has been one of the most open countries in Europe regarding refugees and asylum seekers, particularly during the refugee crisis in 2015. That year, Sweden accepted around 160,000 asylum seekers, primarily from conflict zones like Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Somalia. This was a significant increase for a country with a population of around 13 million people. Immigrant communities tend to have a younger age structure compared to native Swedes. This helps Sweden address the challenges of an aging population by adding more young workers to the labor force, which is crucial for sustaining the welfare state. Immigration has significantly increased cultural diversity in Sweden. Immigrants have brought with them various languages, traditions, and religions, which have added to the multicultural fabric of Swedish society. Cities like Stockholm and Malmö are increasingly cosmopolitan, with a wide range of cultures, foods, and customs. Immigration, especially the large influx of refugees in 2015, has led to growing concerns among some Swedes about integration, crime, and pressure on social services. This has fueled the rise of populist and nationalist parties, like the Sweden Democrats, which advocate for stricter immigration controls and policies limiting the number of immigrants entering the country. Over the next few decades, immigrants and their descendants will continue to shape Sweden's demographic landscape. While they will not take over the country, they will play a larger role in the workforce, culture, and society, especially as the native-born population ages and shrinks. Number 6. United Arab Emirates. The UAE is known for its two largest cities, Dubai and Abu Dhabi, which draw millions of tourists each year. Dubai, a regional business hub known for its sleek skyscrapers, is home to the largest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa. The population of the United Arab Emirates in 2024 is estimated to be between 10.2 million and 11.0 million. Expatriates in the United Arab Emirates represent about 88% of the population, while Emiratis constitute roughly 12% of the total population, making the UAE home to one of the world's highest percentage of expatriates. Most of immigrants reside in Dubai and the capital, Abu Dhabi. Like other Gulf countries, the UAE uses the kafala system to manage its migrant workforce. Under this system, foreign workers must be sponsored by an employer to enter and work in the UAE. Employers have significant control over workers' legal status, including their ability to stay in the country. The vast majority of immigrants in the UAE are on temporary work visas with no pathway to citizenship or permanent residency. After their contracts expire, many return to their home countries. This transient nature of the workforce prevents the possibility of long-term settlement or takeover by immigrants in a traditional sense. Number 5. Australia. Australia is globally famous for its natural wonders: wide open spaces, beaches, deserts, the bush, and the outback. Australia's population has increased from 3.8 million in 1901 to 27.1 million in 2024. As of June 30, 2024, Australia's population was 27.1 million, with 8.2 million people born overseas. This makes up 30.7% of Australia's population, which is an increase from 29.5% in 2022. The number of people born overseas in Australia increased by 494,000 in 2023. Australia has always been a nation built by immigrants, particularly after World War II, when the government actively sought immigrants to help rebuild the economy. The populate or perish policy encouraged migration from Europe, particularly from Britain, Italy, Greece, and other war-torn countries, significantly shaping modern Australia's demographic landscape. In the 1970s, Australia officially moved away from the White Australia policy, which had restricted non-European immigration and embraced multiculturalism. This led to increased migration from Asia, the Middle East, and Africa, diversifying Australia's population. In recent decades, Australia has seen large numbers of immigrants from Asia, particularly China, India, the Philippines, and Vietnam. Australia's immigration system, largely based on skills and family reunification, attracts professionals and students from these countries. Despite Australia's multicultural success, immigration has not been without challenges. There are instances of racism and xenophobia, with some Australians expressing concerns about the cultural and economic impact of immigration. Political debates often focus on immigration levels, particularly regarding refugees and asylum seekers. However, I praise the Australian government for controlling immigration, and I think other countries also need to learn something from them. Number 4. United Kingdom. The United Kingdom is a state made up of the historic counties of England, Wales, and Scotland, as well as Northern Ireland. It is known as the home of both modern parliamentary democracy and the Industrial Revolution. The population of the United Kingdom in 2024 is estimated to be between 67.85 million and 69.138 million. In the year ending June 2024, 128.4 million people arrived in the UK, which is 11% more than the previous year. This includes British nationals, short-term visitors, and people coming to the UK for other reasons. The UK's immigrant population is estimated to be around 10.7 million people, or 16% of the total population, as of the 2021 and 22 census. The number of people born abroad in the UK has increased since then, but there is no reliable data for later years. I think I could make a full dedicated video on the rapidly changing demography of the UK. I will try to make one in the next few days. The UK's colonial past played a huge role in shaping its immigration patterns. Citizens from former British colonies such as India, Pakistan, Jamaica, and other parts of the Caribbean migrated to the UK, particularly after World War II. The UK encouraged this immigration to help rebuild the country after the war, leading to significant cultural and demographic changes. Over the decades, the UK has become increasingly diverse, especially in cities like London, Birmingham, and Manchester. Concerns over immigration played a central role in the Brexit referendum in 2016. Many voters expressed fears about the perceived loss of control over the country's borders due to the EU's free movement policy, leading to rising anti-immigrant sentiment, particularly in rural and less economically developed areas. The vote to leave the EU was, in part, a reaction to concerns about high levels of immigration from Eastern Europe and the strain it was perceived to place on jobs, housing, and public services. The UK has officially embraced multiculturalism as part of its national identity, particularly since the 1980s and 1990s. Immigrants have had a profound impact on British culture, from food like Indian cuisine becoming a British staple to music, arts, and business. Immigration is expected to continue driving population growth in the UK, which faces an aging population. Immigrants are often younger and of working age, helping to balance the dependency ratio as more Britons enter retirement. This demographic shift is vital for sustaining public services and the economy. Immigrants will continue to concentrate in cities, particularly London, which remains a global hub for finance, culture, and education. Their economic contribution will remain crucial to maintaining the UK's position as a global economy, but challenges related to housing, healthcare, and social integration will persist. The idea of the UK being taken over by immigrants is often fueled by misconceptions about the actual numbers and impact of immigration. While immigration has changed the face of the UK, particularly in urban centers, it is far from a takeover scenario. Immigrants constitute a relatively small percentage of the population, and strict immigration policies ensure that the government retains control over who enters the country. Number 3. Canada. Canada has a varied landscape, with majestic mountains, rolling plains, forested valleys, and beautiful blue rivers and lakes. The Canadian Shield, a hilly region of lakes and swamps, stretches across northern Canada and has some of the oldest rocks on Earth. In Canada's far north lies the frozen Arctic. As of April 1, 2024, Canada's population was 41,012,563, which is over 41 million people. This is a significant increase from the 40 million mark that was reached in June 2023. As of 2023, Canada has over 8 million immigrants with permanent residence, which is about 20% of the country's total population. This is the largest proportion of immigrants in Canada in over 150 years, and the highest among G7 countries. Canada has a deep history of immigration. From the settlement of French and British colonists in the 17th and 18th centuries to waves of European immigrants in the 19th and 20th centuries, the country has always been shaped by newcomers. Indigenous peoples were the first inhabitants of the land, but immigration has been a key factor in the formation of modern Canada. In 1971, Canada became the first country in the world to adopt an official policy of multiculturalism, which promotes the integration of immigrants while allowing them to maintain their cultural identities. This policy has been central to how Canada manages its growing immigrant population and fosters social cohesion. Canada is one of the world's top destinations for immigrants. In recent years, Canada has consistently increased its immigration targets to address labor shortages and population aging. The country welcomed over 400,000 new immigrants in 2021, one of the highest per capita rates in the world. Most immigrants to Canada are young, skilled workers or families with children, which helps counterbalance Canada's aging population. In urban centers like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, immigrants make up a significant portion of the population. For example, over 50% of Toronto's residents were born outside of Canada. Immigration is a significant political issue in Canada, though it does not tend to divide voters as sharply as in some other countries. Most major political parties support immigration, though they may differ on specifics such as refugee intake or temporary foreign workers. Far-right and anti-immigration movements exist but are relatively small and less influential compared to countries like the United States or parts of Europe. Canada's immigration targets are expected to remain high, with the government planning to admit over 400,000 immigrants per year in the coming years. These numbers are necessary to ensure that Canada's population and workforce continue to grow in the face of aging and low fertility rates. Number 2, Germany. As Europe's largest economy and second most populous nation after Russia, Germany is a key member of the continent's economic, political, and defense organizations. Germany's population is estimated to be 84.5 million in 2024. As of May 2024, there were approximately 19.9 million foreigners in Germany. This includes people who are stateless, have unclear citizenship, or have a migration background. Germany was at the forefront of the European response to the 2015 refugee crisis. Chancellor Angela Merkel's famous decision to open Germany's doors to over 1 million refugees, primarily from Syria, Afghanistan, and Iraq, had a significant impact on the country's demographics and politics. This move was driven by humanitarian concerns, but also by the recognition that Germany's aging population needed a demographic boost. In addition to refugees, Germany continues to attract a high number of immigrants for economic reasons. Germany's strong economy, high standard of living, and demand for skilled labor make it a popular destination for workers from within and outside the EU. In recent years, Germany has seen increased immigration from countries like India, China, and other non-EU nations, especially in technology and healthcare sectors. As of 2021, nearly 26% of Germany's population had a migration background, meaning they or at least one of their parents were born abroad. This percentage is higher in urban areas, such as Berlin, Frankfurt, and Hamburg, where immigrant communities are more concentrated. The influx of immigrants, particularly after the 2015 refugee crisis, has also led to social and political tensions. Anti-immigration sentiment has grown, fueling the rise of far-right parties like the Alternative for Germany, which capitalizes on fears of cultural change, security concerns, and economic competition. However, many Germans support immigration, particularly when it is framed as necessary for economic and demographic reasons. One of the more controversial aspects of the immigration debate in Germany is related to the integration of Muslim immigrants, who make up a significant portion of newcomers, especially from Turkey, Syria, and Afghanistan. Some far-right groups have stoked fears of an Islamization of Germany, claiming that Muslim immigrants will change the country's culture and values. These fears, however, are often based on stereotypes and misperceptions. Germany is likely to continue relying on immigration to meet its labor and demographic needs. The country's aging population, low birth rates, and demand for skilled workers make immigration an essential part of its long-term strategy. Germany is also focusing on attracting more highly educated and skilled immigrants, especially in technology, healthcare, and engineering. Number 1, United States. The United States of America is a North American nation that is the world's most dominant economic and military power. Likewise, its cultural imprint spans the world, led in large part by its popular culture expressed in music, movies, and television. In 2024, the total population of the U.S. amounted to approximately 334.18 million inhabitants. This makes the United States the third most populated country in the world, after China and India. In 2023, the U.S. immigrant population was 47.8 million, making up 14.3% of the total population. This is a record high for the immigrant population and the largest annual increase since 2000. The United States has long been a destination for immigrants, starting with European colonization and continuing through waves of migration from all over the world. The U.S. was built by immigrants from diverse backgrounds, including European settlers, African slaves, Asian laborers, and people from Latin America. The Statue of Liberty, with its inscription welcoming your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, is a symbol of this open-door policy. Major waves of immigration occurred in the 19th and early 20th centuries, with millions of Europeans, particularly from Ireland, Italy, Germany, and Eastern Europe, arriving to work in factories, mines, and railroads. After 1965, when the U.S. repealed restrictive immigration quotas, new waves of immigrants from Latin America, Asia, and Africa reshaped the demographic makeup of the country. Today, immigrants come to the U.S. from a wide variety of regions, including Mexico, Central America, China, India, and the Philippines. The U.S. admits immigrants through a variety of legal pathways, including family reunification, employment-based visas, refugees, and the diversity visa lottery. However, unauthorized immigration remains a contentious issue, with an estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants living in the U.S. as of 2021. The U.S. government has taken various approaches over the years to address illegal immigration, ranging from deportations to offering pathways to citizenship. The U.S. is becoming more diverse, with projections suggesting that by 2045, the country will become a majority-to-minority nation, meaning that non-Hispanic whites will make up less than 50% of the population. This demographic shift is driven largely by immigration and the higher birth rates among immigrant populations. The growing diversity of the U.S. population is also reflected in its politics. Immigrant communities, particularly Latino and Asian American voters, are becoming an increasingly important part of the electorate. Both major political parties are adjusting their strategies to appeal to these groups, recognizing their growing influence in key states like Florida, Texas, and Arizona. Immigrants and their descendants will play an increasingly important role in shaping the U.S. population, particularly as the native-born population ages and birth rates remain low. This demographic shift will have implications for everything from social policy to electoral politics, as the U.S. continues to grapple with its identity as a nation of immigrants. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.